So, in this video, I'm going to be talking about how COVID affected me. Now, I just want to make it clear that I definitely was not hurt by COVID, not as much as other people. There's definitely people that have gotten more hurt by COVID than me, but I just want to share how my experience was on it, okay? So, firstly, I want to talk about how it started and kind of the story, mostly with school. So, I'll set the stage. So, I was in 6th grade at around the time when COVID was first starting. Then the first time I heard about it, it was when me and my dad we were going to we were going to some sort of store. I can't remember which. I think it was like some kind of pet store or something for my dog to get her food. And we were going there, and my dad watches the news, so he knew of COVID and how it was spreading in China. And I was a younger kid back then, so when I heard of it, I was a little alarmed, but I wasn't too worried about it because it was a little like alarming, but not too much just because it was happening. I live in the US and it was happening in China, so I wasn't very alarmed back then. So then I remember later when I was in school, and what happened was we watched a video about it, and I started to learn about it more. And the video is about like being 6 feet and how to stop it and things. And I remember about watching a video, and I remember one time, or actually a lot of times in research, which was one of my classes, more of an extra kind of free class to do work and things. It's very nice. I remember when we had one of the kids in my class had a little like he had it on his Chromebook. He had a map, and it showed like the COVID map and the red areas. And I just remember when I was in 6th grade, I'm in 8th grade now, I remember just seeing the map and seeing how the red like started in Florida, one of the really southern states. And I remember how we just watched it like slowly, how it just kind of spread. And we watched it on the map as it spread because my friend had the map up, and it was just really, we were really getting that this thing was, spreading and getting close. And I was a little bit definitely more concerned at that point. And what happened is in our school we were told that we'd have 2 to 4 weeks. So it was like in an email or something. And I remember I was going back to my homeroom, and I saw this one kid and a lot of other kids were celebrating. They were happy. And they were happy to go. They thought they had 2 to 4 weeks of half days virtual, and they were very happy. And we were told it was going to be 2 to 4 weeks, and all the kids were pretty happy. I don't know, I was a little happy, a little skeptical, I wasn't really sure. And everyone was so happy, and I forgot to mention, but the part of the reason why I'm making this video is COVID for school was just terrible for me. With virtual school, I just hated it so much. So I just want to say a story about it, and that's why I'm making this video. Forgot to mention it earlier. So what happened is so at first COVID, or not COVID, but virtual school wasn't very bad. It was, because at first it wasn't as many Google Meets, and you're really just given work on the computer. And I'd start at like 9 and finish at 11, even though I was supposed to start at 9 and go to 1. But I still got all my homework done, and I was having good grades. And it was pretty nice virtually, you stayed home, you got your work done quickly, and pretty quick. The Google Meets weren't used as much, and when they were used to like help you to check up on someone as opposed to like messages. And I think that's the way Google Meets work best, not being mandatory to simulate a real class, because when you're trying to simulate a real class on virtual, it doesn't work, and it can make it worse. I think Google Meets are best used when you have someone who is like, it's used as like a thing. If someone's falling behind, you could have a conversation with them and talk to them and help them. And at first, for 6th grade, it was great. You'd finish early, it was nice, it was almost like a secondary job, or like something, not a secondary job, but it was almost like you kind of just finished it when you wanted on your Chromebook, and it wasn't hard. It was nice. It was teachers didn't really know how much work, and at first I was a little frustrated the first week because I couldn't like find where my math thing was. But once I did and got used to it, I was happy, and I actually did really well. Well, I remember seventh grade, so I was going into the seventh grade now. And wait, hold on. Before I went to go to seventh grade, I want to talk about sixth grade. So when sixth grade ended, it was nice, but it was also so weird because that was the first time when sixth grade ended. It wasn't like no closure. You never said goodbye to your teacher, and that really like not really messed me up, but just made me really. It was just weird because you never got like that closure of saying all right goodbye, have a handshake, or just say goodbye. You know, you never had that like closure just saying goodbye to a teacher for the last time. It was kind of just goodbye off of Google Meet, and I watched a video of like this yearbook thing. It was so different, and I just disliked it because it didn't really give you that closure, you know. You, it just didn't feel right. And so in seventh grade, I remember on seventh grade. Now I want to say that all my seventh grade teachers were amazing. They're the nicest people ever, and they were great teachers. But when you have virtual, I remember the first day was so boring. I just remember it was. I felt like two of my teachers that looked kind of similar. I just felt like it was like the same teacher on the first day. I don't know. But it was on the first day, it was so boring. You just would see a teacher on a Google Meet, on Google Meet, on a Google Meet, and it's so boring. You know, the Google Meets all day were terrible. I just really disliked them. And like when we'd have snow days, usually we had a virtual day, so that sucked. Especially because where I was from last year, it was snowing a lot, like 4 feet or so. It was like really high. And it was very boring. And I remember how boring it was the first day. And it's not because of the teachers. And the teachers are the teachers and students. And it's not just me. It's not just students. It's the teachers too. Everyone was suffering through virtual school mostly last year. When you have full virtual with, well, even half day virtual with like mandatory Google Meets, I think it's so terrible and it makes it so hard to focus. And all like for science, which was a class you usually would do experiments and stuff, we never really did hands-on things, which kind of sucked because that was like one of the cool things to do. Seventh graders do experiments in science, and that's what we did like last year and the year before. Maybe not as much last year though. And math, and I was really frustrated in school because I always find it hard to pay attention on a computer screen, just sitting there. And my school has announced that we're gonna have virtual again, and I really dislike that, and that's another reason why I made this video. So with virtual and Google Meets, it was so impossible to pay attention. They weren't interesting. There was just nothing. It was like they'd talk for 5 minutes. I'd zone out. I don't know, I can't remember, I can't remember. I zone out and start like daydreaming or just, I don't know, looking around in my room. I'm just so bored. I can't pay attention. And then they say something important and I've zoned out, so I don't know what it is. And it was just so frustrating trying to learn. You know, it was terrible. I went into school as much as I could in seventh grade, but even when I was virtual, it was so terrible. And even hybrid, which means like you went in as much as you could, like half days, and then as much like when I went into school 4 days, it was still so terrible because when you have half your class virtual and half your class inside, for the teachers it's definitely difficult, but you can't do any hands-on things. So it was like for science, for example, you can't do anything hands-on because half the class is virtual. And that was just really terrible. And I remember getting so stressed out because of school. And in math class, how it went for me was the teacher would talk about and show us something and learn, and I would not be able to pay attention. It's a nice period. I had a nice period in math, at the end of it, I could not pay attention. So every time, how it would work was she'd teach a subject, I'd not know what I'm doing for a week, and then the day before a test, she has a review, and then I'd go to review, learn how to do it, and then do pretty well on tests. I usually got good grades. Although that year for virtual was very hard for me to do because a lot of times if I had my grades suffer, it was usually because the teacher would tell us what to do, but I was zoned out. I'm not able to pay attention. So then the assignment would come missing and I'd lose grade, and that's why my grades suffered, and that was the first time I got a D in that class. And I got a D in some, I think it was like woodshop or something, which was, I'm not gonna lie, woodshop was pretty dumb. I mean, I don't know what the teacher, like the teacher wasn't a bad teacher, but like I don't know, his assignments kind of got confusing at the end. I don't really know. But for 8th grade, so for 7th grade, I got, more closure of like an ending for school because I was able to say, all right, goodbye teachers. I shook my hands with my homeroom teacher. I looked at the school I was walking to go get picked up, and it was closure like a movie. Now for 8th grade, which I'm in now, on the first day it was much better because I was in school and we were done with virtual, and that was great. I was in my homeroom and I sat right next to my buddy that I haven't really seen or talked to since kindergarten, and I was really happy to see him. I've seen him. I don't know if I talked to him much though since like kindergarten. So obviously I'm pretty happy that I could talk to him. And 8th grade's been going a lot better now that I'm not in virtual. I can pay attention to people when they're talking regularly as opposed to like when they're just on a virtual screen. You just can't because it's just not the same. I don't know. I don't know why, but it's just so hard to pay attention to a screen. I mean, I guess it makes sense. It's hard to pay attention to a screen for 4 hours. It's not like the teachers are being excited, like, whoa, whoa, whoa. They're being boring. They're talking, well, not being boring, and that's not their fault. Because it's impossible, it's hard to be entertaining on, like, a screen without, I don't know, trying to be, like, a YouTuber or something. Or, like, I don't know, editing or something, I don't know. But it was just hard for me to focus. 8th grade's been going super well. I've been focusing really well. My grades are doing really well. Everything's doing well, but recently the cases have started going up, and my school has announced recently that we're going back into virtual, and this really hurt me. Well, not hurt me, but like I really wasn't happy because virtual last year was the worst thing for me. It's terrible. It's not too bad if they did it how they did in like 6th grade where they just gave you work, but when they just give you a Google Meet after Google Meet after Google Meet, it gets so terrible. And it's really just it's so hard to learn, it's so hard to do well, it's so hard to get good grades, it's just so hard to do anything. And that's why I don't like virtual, and that's how COVID affected me. For this holiday, quickly, it was for these holidays how they've been affected is they're all like there's only a few people in my family I celebrate, and I only celebrate with a few people. And thanks for watching. This is the end of the video. Goodbye. Have a good day.